Right, so it's already 5:59. We still have 1 more minute left before I get to start. I want to hear uh digitoy adad toy around we have 14 minus me is already 13. Are you there, Mr. Lawag?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, thank you. Thank you for responding, Miss Tundagi. Are you there? Diyan ka ba?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Mr. Aludus. Mr. Aludus?
Yes, sir.
I was asking
Yes,
you
sir.
earlier about your one about you were applying for a retake of the exam. Han ko pa ina-approve dahan ko nga amo. Ninya tirason mo apay nga kayat mo ag-retake. Gusto nga han ko ina-approve. Damdama i-PM mo na
Sir,
lang apay.
sir, sir,
Nagba
di ko nga di mga nagdano di
apay ah.
kat nag naawan ti signal dito ko luruan.
When no kas jay ag-apply kayo lang ti retake ti retake ngayon, di ba? Ada ti submit tapos ada ti apply for retake. Applyan niyo lang jay. Once tapos kabilan niyo ti rason nga apay nga agpa-retake kayo. No, agpa-retake kayo nakita
Sir,
nga gusto di rason niyo kat i-approve ko di ay mabalin niyo nga i-retake di exam. Yes, jay.
yes,
Na
sir.
makakat mayatan
Sir,
di signal second time. Yes, Mr. Aludus.
stay screenshot kami di kanya mas screenshot kami niya.
When ngam basta i-apply mo lang, mabalin mo siyang applyan, damdama, umalpas sa si klase. Applyan na lang jay.
Yes, sir. Salamat.
Mr. Lesino, are you there? Lesino. May nag-EFK dito eh. Nag-join lang. Mr. Valdez, are you there?
Sir, makuha signal.
Okay. Mr. Valdez, are you there? Okay, okay. Mr. Mokay. Are you there, Mr. Mokay? Naka-off yung mic na. There's nothing I can hear. Anyway, Miss Abiliera, are you there? Miss Abiliera, Miss Libiado, Miss Rufino, and Mr.
Sir.
Yapasan. Alright.
Sir.
Sige, let's start, no? It's already 6:02. Alright, so our lesson for today is chapter 7 and 8. However, don't worry, touch chapter 8, kaslamat ng chapter 6 nga there's no naming. It's just an essay form nga ag-answer kayo lang ti essay man panggap ti lesson nga diay. But I believe that many can relate from you in terms of the chapter 7 because the chapter 7 gamen kat alcohol. Diba, boys? Ka-relate kayo dito eh. Panggap dito ti alcohol. Kasi ano ti maramid ti arak. Or, kanya ti difference na nga apay di alcohol nga panglinis, hantay nga mabalin nga inumun. Yeah? So, your chapter 7 is actually alcohols and phenol. So, later on, dati naming na dito eh. Ngam nalaka lang. Dito no. Again, if you have the basic principle of the ones that we learn from the alkanes, alkynes, and alkenes, then this is still relatable. Alright, let's proceed. So, ti itsura, ti alcohol, tatlo lang ang maamuan nyo, no? It has OH. OH, or this is what you call your hydronium ion. OH. Oxygen and hydrogen joined together, no? Isu ti adati may isang alcohol. No, inyaman dayta mabalin ti CH3, duwa nga CH3, talo nga CH3, kasjay basta adati kadua na nga OH. Or simply we call this one your hydronium ion. I believe it's written in your module in this case. So ti alcohol adto ti usar na, no? Adto ti usar na. Mabalin kay bangag share ti usar ti alcohol. Anybody nganyayo dita? Mayas may mayat no interactive tayo tapno nga mas paspas ngay na malpas na dati ang sagot tas dahil to okay. So anybody from you nanyati usar ti alcohol? Yeah, yes sir. Yes, Mr. Irenyo.
Pang disinfect, sir.
Sir, parang
Sige, pang disinfect. Mr. Irenyo, nyangit usar na. Para kanyam.
sir, stay baga.
So ado pa iti usar ti alcohol. Nya nga iti usar tayo ti mga tanga kanayon tayo nga kwa. Nya nga iti usar ti alcohol.
Panglinis ti sugat, sir.
Panglinis ti sugat. Kaslamot lang disinfection. Nya pay sa bali. Hanba nga ti alcohol kat pamparelax. Namati kayo ba nga alcohol kat pamparelax ka no? Pamparelax. No, maminsan no masobraan kat kumpurmit ibagbagam. So, sometimes if you are not honest, you become honest when you take alcohol. Is it true? Alright, so dito no, ado ti usar ti alcohol hanlang nga dagita. Even alcohol is being used for like cooking. Yeah, some other chefs are using wine to be able to just incorporate that one to food. Alright, so ado ti usar ti alcohol. But let me share to you some few use of your alcohol. Inya ba ti usar? Some few examples of your alcohol is what you call your methanol. Nangagyo ba dati methanol? If you are you still remember during that time when we are talking about alkanes, no? You are familiar with methane. Since methane is the first nga alkane na nangag tayo, no? Simply an alcohol, na pinaka-simplest nga alcohol, we call that one your methanol. If you get to see, there's only one carbon there. So therefore, methane daytoy with the OH. Then from methane, you take out the E and place OL, methanol. Sinagana. So you have the idea of how to actually name a certain compound. Normally, si methanol is what you call your wood alcohol. This isugay daytoy nga maus-usar nga papastart the fire, no? Historically, methanol was prepared by heating wood in the absence of air. That's become the wood methanol. This is actually just used for you to be able to start a fire. If you have been to camping and awan tikas lang a fire starter you, then you can use actually alcohol. Someday, if you become soko, no, and you investigate a certain case called arson, no, ada gamit ida mga suspect nga igagara dangay nga tawag dati puuran dati mga buildings da igagara da dagita. And first thing you get to know is that you get to know first, being as a criminologist, is for you to know what is the starter of that fire. Is it electricity? The source is electricity ba? Or adaba ti inusar da nga fire startan? Is it an alcohol? Is it a gas? Is it something? Is it usar actually the chemistry in relation to your profession, right? So we have your methanol. So no ada ti methane, ada ti methanol, inya nga ta ti next. If I let you guess, inya nga ta ti next na daytoy no ada ti methanol. Inya ti next na no alcohol. Anybody? Ada ba? Share? Guess? It's okay for you to be to kamali dito at least dito kay pag kamali no mag-adal kayo kaysa matag-kamali kayo no ijay kayo na ada kayo sa trabaho. No, ada ti methanol because it came from the word methane from alkane. Then what's the next? What do you think? Anybody? It's already 6:08.
Ethanol, sir.
All right, we have your ethanol, no? The next of methane is ethane. So if there is an ethane, therefore there is also what you call your ethanol. Your ethanol, before going there, no, just to give you an idea, methanol is actually toxic. It can cause blindness. At a certain more amount or dosage, it can cause death. All right. So never take in methanol. It's not for internal use. It's just for starting a fire or what, no? So never use methanol. So you mentioned about ethanol, no? Tama yon. Next ni methanol is ethanol. And this is simply the one that you use for disinfection. Amo yung ba tinagan ti alcohol nga usaron yung tata for in disinfection? Can you see this one? Makita yo ba? Kita yo ba dito yung video? Video ko ito eh. I'm not sure if you get to see here. This one. I'm showing you the video. This is simply your ethanol. Nya nga tati sabali na nga name ti ethanol. Anybody like to guess? Ethanol. Ethanol is simply actually for your disinfection. Anybody? Ada gamit ti sabali na nga name ni ethanol. And daytoy ethanol nga daytoy iso ti usaron tayo nga panglinis ti ima tayo. Pang disinfect.
Sir, ethyl alcohol.
Very good. Ethyl alcohol. Simply data ethyl alcohol tayo kat ethanol data. No? So it's the second alcohol that you get to know, no? Ethyl alcohol is actually your ethanol. But if you get to see again, no, as a side trip of the ones that we're learning right now, we have two types of your alcohol in terms of the one that is sold in the supermarket. Mano nga percent si alcohol nga maus-usar tayo nga panglinis ti ima? Ano nga percent ka alcohol di ay?
70%, sir.
Very good, 70. Ngam have you ever heard of like, is there, dapat nag-exist nga 40% alcohol? Nakapadas kayo ba 40% alcohol nga nakagatang kayo ba idi or whatever that is? Alright?
Yes, sir.
There exists a 40% alcohol, no? 40%. Data 40% iso ti us-usaron nga ti ko. Us-usaron ti barbero. Especially for boys no malpasan ti nag-ahit or malpasan ti nag-haircut kat syempre, di ba? Ag alcohol da last para kinyam. Di ay? It's actually just 40%. But between the two, if you're going to choose between the two, the 70% and the 40% alcohol, which do you think is a very effective way for us to use for disinfection? The 70 or the 40%?
Sir, the 70%, sir.
Very good. The 70. Again, ladies and gentlemen, do not use 40% alcohol for your disinfection. It's not effective. Alright? 70% alcohol is the one that we get to use for disinfection. One thing to note, alright, ladies and gentlemen, never leave your alcohol open. Digita nga alcohol nga panglilinis tayo ti ima, pang disinfection, hanyo nga baybayan dayta nga di kalab nakat naka-open. Hanyo nga baybayan. What happens? Your alcohol is a volatile volatile data, meaning naglaka nga isun na nag-evaporate. No luklukatam data, no nakalukat jay na binaybayan nyo nga nakalukat jay kalab si alcohol, nag-evaporate jay alcohol, patta data alcohol yung nga nabati dita nga nakalukat jay jay kalab na haanan nga 70% daytan. Depende no kasano kaatidug dayta nga binaybayan nyo nga naka-open, more or less, that's already less than 70% alcohol, and therefore it's not anymore effective in terms of disinfection. Right? So something for you to learn in terms of using your alcohol. Do not leave it open because the 70% will not be 70% anymore. Alright? Gets ba? Questions? Questions? Dapat question nyo?
Yes, sir.
Alright, sige.
None, sir.
Continue tayo. So, dito alcohol, no? You get to see boys and girls, I think, pati girls kat makarelate dito yan, no? Inya nga process dapat nga mapalabas tapno makaaramid tayo ti alcohol. What do you think is the process being done by those people nga agaramid ti strawberry wine, ti babasit ng mga prutas nga di? Diba ti mga different wine nga tawag bugnay wine, di ba? Nya ti proseso nga aramidan da tapno makaarami dati wine. Nya nga ti proseso.
Fermentation, sir.
Very good, no? That's true, nakasurat. It's a production of fermentation. Masapol mo nga i-ferment dayta tapno ang arami dayta ti alcohol, mas nabayag dayta nga binaybayam nga nag-ferment, the more alcohol content it creates. And therefore, mas malakas ang tama ng alcohol ng inumin na yan. If you get to see Tanduay leaves their Tanduay nga brandy, ram gayam, no? 'Di ba? T5 titawag da because it's fermented for 5 years. For some others, if you get to see that apay nga umabot ti 5,000 ti may sala nga may sala nga high-end nga maarak because it's again it's fermented 20 years, 25 years, and there was this one time dati 100 years. Ang ferment da presyo mo nagngina. Alright? Because they say the many years it was fermented, the better the taste kano. Syempre, mas adu ti alcohol content na. So, makakatbasit lang kato mamang yalagos. Alright, so let's continue. So, the preparation of alcohol, I'm leaving you with that one. Pero it's just that other things that we're going to learn in the future can be actually made into alcohol. Carboxylic acid is, I think, the chapter 9. Alkene, naadal tayon. Ketone is, I think, in chapter 10. Chapter 9 ba dito eh? Aldehyde, dayta, kat future nga mga lessons tayo. Ending, makita tayo, no, di arrow, babalinda gayang nga marami si alcohol. Alright, so let's continue. Adamat ti kagkadua ni alcohol, no? Sa padadamat nga all dito eh, ni phenol, no? Pero han iso na nga hantay nga masyado iso na nga emphasize dito eh because it's not as interesting as alcohol. If you're going to look at it later in your activity, apay nga ta nga sa bality effect ti alcohol ti babae kaysa ti lalaki. Or agpada ba? Ada ba ti times nga naabak ti maysa nga lalaki kung kaysa ti maysa nga babae? Or agpaabak ba ti lalaki in terms of the tolerance of alcohol, maybe? So, later on, no, answer you di ay question nga apay nga tanong, inya nga ta ti effect ti alcohol, ti maysa nga babae, kun maysa nga lalaki, ag sinabali ba nga ta? Or agpada lang, no? So, dayta ti birok yun later on nga answer. But most of the time, for your phenols, no, we're using that one for adhesives. Amo iti usar ti adhesives. You know your adhesives? Adhesives, anybody? Let's start adhesives. You can guess. Adhesives. Antiseptics amo yun dito eh. It's just related to your disinfection. Let's start the adhesives. Nata. Alright, I'll leave you with that one. Maybe I'll have one question for this one later on in the finals na lang. Alright, but your phenols is actually created from your coal tar. Amo iti coal, it's actually mga makikita nga underground, no? Coals. These are the ones that we get to use for our source of your gasoline. Are actually made up of coal. Then we need to refine that one to become gasoline or any other supply for running machines or what. But si phenol maalam at lang coal tar nga ibagbagada. Underground dito eh. One of the best example of your phenol is dito eh. Nakakita kayo ba ti kastoy? Or nakausar kayo ba ti kastoy? Kausar ko lang ti kastoy lately. Amoy ba dito eh? Anybody has an idea of what this is in the picture? Nangay dito nga makikita yo. Anybody? Ano pa sa join? Wala daw sa. Anybody has an idea of what is the one that you're looking at here? Anybody?
Efficacent oil, sir.
Efficacent.
Ayan, efficacent.
Efficacent.
So, makita yung efficacent dita, no? Makita yung efficacent dita, the main ingredient na kat methyl salicylate. Or, simply no, handami nga common nga efficacent nga iti United States. Kinyatay dito Pilipinas, tawag tayo efficacent oil. Napan ka tayo United States, tawag na oil of wintergreen. Alright? But simply, it's just the same, no, having what you call a phenol content named as your methyl salicylate. Iso nga iti ang pagasang na dita, no? Tapos isujikas lang nga apay nga nagasang tapos nalamin ruwa feeling nga ruwar ngam no napan iti skin mo nga inpahid mo apay nga napudot sa baba, no? Under the skin it's quite warm, but out from the skin it's kinda cold, so that's why it affects the methyl salicylate. Right? Another example of your phenol is actually your ureosols. Nangungyo ba ti poison ivy? Have you ever heard of poison ivy? It's a plant actually. Nangungyo ba dito eh? Poison ivy. Dati bagbagada nga poison oak. Oak is actually a tree. And your poison ivy is also again another shrub. Kaslalang ito na nga shrub or it's just a plant. It's just a grass. But if you don't know poison ivy and you get to touch its body or its leaves or its the plant mismo, it causes you allergic reaction. So nga tawag na kat poison ivy. And the one that causes the allergic reaction is actually the urosols, which is an example of your phenol. Alright? So, iwasan tayo ngayon. To be honest, it's not actually, I think, it doesn't exist in the Philippines, let's say poison ivy, and even oak tree cannot siguro, cannot survive here in the temperate area in the Philippines. Oak trees are actually found in the colder areas in the United States, Canada, or even the United Kingdom. That's yeah. So, dati poison oak dayang, no, nga tree. So, hantay nga basta-basta nga apan lang bantay kat hantay nga amon dagi dyan mga vegetation tree all around because maybe they are poisonous. Alright, so, dito yan, no? Get to name alcohol. As I've mentioned last time, for you to be able to name an alcohol, it's just that an alcohol contains an OH. Nakakita kay ti OH dita, alcohol dita. Alright? So, it's just the same idea with the ones that we had for your alkanes, alkenes, and alkynes. Now, first things first, how many carbons do you see in the longest chain? May I hear your voices right now? How many carbons?
3.
3, sir.
3. So, no 3 dayta nga carbon.
3, sir.
No, so yes, very good. No 3. No 3 dayta nga carbon, inya nga tinaga na dayta, no alkene dayta. No 3 carbons, no alkane. Inya tinaga na dayta 3 carbon.
Prop.
Yes, continue. What's the name? Propane. Alright. This time na lang dayta, no? Get the name of the alkane. So in this case, talo nga carbon garod, di ba? Talo nga carbon. So tawag tayo dapat dita, propane. Ngam gapo nga ada ti OH na, dayta haan nga alkane. It's an alcohol. So all you have to do is from your propane, take out the letter E, no? I-erase yung letter E, kabilan nyo TOL. So, niya tinaga na tata dito. So, propane, you erase the letter E in the last and add OL. Niya tinaga na tata dito.
Propanol, sir. Propanol.
Yan.
Propanol.
It's propanol, no? Propanol.
Ay, propanol.
Alright, taawanan yung E, last eh. So, we call this one your propanol. So, kasi lang agnagan, nalaka lang. No, masapul yun lang, maamuan, no, mano nga carbon. Ijay, tapos, ijay malagip yung ijay alkane, dahito kat propane, propane dahito tatalo ti carbon na. Katakat ada ti OH na. So, na ada ti OH na, ikatot jay E, ijay last, na yunak ti OL, and therefore, the name of this, the one that you're seeing right now is propanol. Alright? Propanol. So, makita tayo ba, Jay? Naga na. Alright? Propanol. Alright? Kastoy, kastoy ti nayon ti alcohol. Tata. Alright? Makita tayo nga mabalin ni OH nga ag-connect ijay first carbon. Ni OH mabalin mo nga ag-connect ijay second carbon or either ijay third carbon. In this case, no? Ni OH, in what carbon is OH connected? Carbon
2,
number
sir.
Number? Carbon
2,
number
sir.
2, sir.
Alright, carbon number 2. J pangting nga, di ba, kat second is una. So, daytoy, no, tapno specific tayo in terms of the alcohol, masapol, ibaga tayo, ikabil tayo, isurat tayo, J number nga, ng konekan na. In this case, no, ni OH nakakonect kini second carbon, therefore ti kompleto nang anagan daytoy 2 propanol. Nagets you ba? Or ada question nyo kat mabalin nyo idamag. Nagets you ba?
Yes, sir.
Kuha ba? Di agpaiso. Kuha ba? No, kayat yung kat ada pa yung mga examples tayo. Siguro kat mas makarelate kayo dado mga examples niya. So, i-continue tayo. Alright, so kwa lang dito ti pinaka-importante lang dito haan lang nga basta kat ibagay talo nga carbon propanol dito masapol kat maamuan tayo no ay nga carbon naka-connect ni OH nya. In this case, in the second carbon, therefore we name this one 2 propanol. Alright, let's continue. O dito nga Alright, exercise tayo niya. First things first, how many carbon do you see in the longest chain? Count kayo.
5, sir.
5. No 5 data, no alkene data inya tinagan na. Data 5 carbon. No alkane dayta nya tinagan ti 5 carbon.
Pentane, sir.
Pentane, very good. Pero gapo nga alcohol daytoy ta nakakita tayo ti OH ditoy. So dayta pentane maging inya tinagan ng tata ta alcohol isunan.
Pentanol, sir.
Very good, pentanol. So adan ti apelyido tayon. No? Adan ti apelyido tayon. Tata adan ti apelyido tayo nga pentanol. Tata i-number tayo matjay carbon. So nya ti style na daytoy pangiruguyan tayo ti number 1 nga carbon. Is it from left to right or right to left? What do you think? From the left to right or right to left?
Left to right, sir.
Left to right.
Very good. Left to right. Tadjay nag-branch out gamin kat mas asidog dito nga may nga dulo dito left kesa ijay right. So syempre follow the lowest number. So this will be your carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5. Alright? So makita tayo nga inya nga carbon number ni OH connected. Inya nga carbon
2, sir.
carbon number 2. So amo tayo nga pentanol daytoy tapos naka-connect is ni OH jay second carbon. So inya ti kasla nga partial nga name na tata. Just like the one that you have, no, 2-propanol, inya nga ta tinagan na daytoy partially.
2-pentanol.
Pentanol.
Very good. Very good. 2-pentanol, no? 2-pentanol. So naamuan tayong tata nga ni OH connected ito sa 2-pentanol. Ngam tata, makita tayo nga haan lang nga JT naka-branch. Dapat naka-branch nga dito eh. And daytoy amok nga amoy daytoy. Sino daytoy?
Methyl.
Ni methyl. Very good, ni methyl, no? Tapos ni methyl again, inya nga carbon number ni methyl naka-connect.
2, sir.
Alright, so amo tayo nga daytoy ka 2-pentanol. Tapos ni methyl naka-connect ijay second carbon which is 2 also. So inya tikas lang nga kompleto na nga nagan tata. What do you think? No i-combine yun amin. Nya nga ta. Sige, try lang. Mabalin ko yung try, mabalin kay kamali, okay lang dito. Nya nga ta. So unaan nyo ni methyl. Alright. Nya nga carbon number naka-connect ni methyl. Again?
2, sir.
Alright, so we have you, what you call your 2-methyl. O, nya nga si apelido na.
2-methyl das 2-pentanol, sir.
Very good. Oh, pasyay lang, tinaga na. So, studyay. 2-methyl, 2-pentanol. Amo tayo nga ni methyl, nakakonect ni carbon 2. So, 2-methyl. Amo tayo nga ni OH, nakakonect ni carbon 2. So, 2. Tapos, amo tayo nga 5 carbon, di pentanol. Simply like that. Alright? Nagets yun ba? Do you have now the idea of how to name an alcohol? Nagigets yun ba? Nya nga ta. Or some more examples, do you think? Slowly tayo dito eh. Some more examples. Or adati, haan nga makagets nga explain ko manan dito yung example. Ada ba? Tihan nga makagets? Or if not, I'll continue up. Alright, I want to sa O, so I'll take that as a yes. So I will continue. Alright, another example. Alright, first things first, manunga carbon, si makikita yun dito the longest chain.
2, sir.
2 carbon. So no 2 dayta, inya ti kaslang nga alkane nga nagan ni 2 carbons.
Ethane, sir.
Ethane, very good. Ngam daga po nga alcohol daytoy ta dati OH, inya nga ta tinagan na daytoy ethane nga maging alcohol.
Ethanol.
Ethanol, very good. Alright? So makikita tayo nga adati carbon tayo nga duwa ditoy, nag-branch out ni OH jay kan may nga OH ditoy. So where do we start our numbering? Is it from the left to the right or right to the left?
Right to the left.
Very good. It's from the right to the left, no? Yung makita tayo ni OH na nag-branch out. Alright. But one thing that's really very something that is new here is that how many OH do you see?
2, sir.
O, duwa nga OH. No malagip yung ba, no, dati duwa, inyat ikabkabil yung ijay dulo, ijay sango tinagan na? You still remember?
Dye.
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 Very good. So, dye. So, no, adati dye, duwa nga alcohol, tapos dye to ikat bagay yung ethane, so inya nga tatim posible na nga pangalan.
Di-ethanol, sir.
Alright, no? Dati posible dayta nga nagan di-ethanol. So kitan tayo man nga makita tayo ditoy, no? Nya specific carbon iso na nga naka-connect, no? Agrugi tayo from the right to the left. What carbon number is it connected?
1, sir.
Alright, 1. Very good. 1 ta nagrugi tayo dyan. Right. Nga mano nga beses da nga nag-connect ijay carbon number 1. Mano nga OH naka-connect ijay?
2, sir.
Alright. So kasano how many times are we going to write 1?
2, sir.
Alright.
Sir.
So kadua tayo. So isurat tayo dito 1, 1. Nya nga iti apelyido na nga ibagbaga yung dati kuan. So amo tayong ethanol ngem duha nga OH dito. So nya ti apelyido na. 1, 1
Dash.
Di-ethanol.
di-ethanol. So study ay no. 1, 1 di-ethane diol. All right? This is a way for us to to be able to see that no ethane daytoy, ethane, because it looks like an alkane, but at the same time it has a branching out of the OH, which makes it an alcohol. Now we will retain the name of it as an ethane. However, because it has a branching out of the OH, no, we connect the di because there are two OH and OL because it's an alcohol. So the complete name for this one is 1,1-ethane diol. Alright, some more examples siguro, no? But this is quite different from the one that you are actually tawag nito, nasanay dito eh. Alright, so 1,1-ethane diol because this one looks like actually an alkane, no? With a branching out of the OH. Alright, let's continue. Try tayo mat nga answeran dagijay kitan tayo no maka-answer tayo pa ijay example city jay activity o gaya mismo ijay kanya ijay module yo. All right, so first things first here, how many carbon do we see here?
3.
3. So if you're going to put this one into a name of the alkane, then what would be the name? 3 carbons. All right, we have your propane. But then you get to see that it has an OH there, so propane becomes an alcohol. What's its name? Nya tinagan na. Propane nga naging alcohol.
Propan.
All right, propanol. Very good. So, dati apelyido tayo nga propanol. All right? But looking at it, no, we have an OH here. We have an OH here and we have an OH there. How many OH do you see?
3.
Tatlo, no? Tatlo data. But first things first, if you're going to number the carbon here, how are you going to start? Is it from the left to the right or right to the left? Left to the right or right to the left?
Sir, either po ba?
Either, correct. Very good. Either lang data tahan mat nga no ag start ka dito right, it doesn't matter if you're going to the start also to the left, it doesn't matter nga agpada lang mat, no? So you get to see at what carbon numbers are your OH connected. Nya carbon numbers ay suda ka connect. 1? Is it only 1?
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Very good. 1, 2, 3, no? Carbon 1, ada ti OH. Carbon 2, ada ti OH ito eh. Ni carbon 3, ada mati OH ijay. So therefore, we have now 1, 2, 3. And what's the name of this one if this is an alkane? You still remember? Propane? No?
Pain.
Propane. So, we have now your 1, 2, 3, propane. And how many OH do we see? 3. So, no 3 dahil tayo niya usaran tayo ngayon, no 3. Jay malagip si Jeffrey.
Try, sir.
Try. So, try all. Alright, so what would be, do you think would be the name? 1, 2, 3, propane. Continue.
Triol.
Triol. Very good. Alright. So, we have now your name there. 1, 2, 3, propane, triol. Nagets nyo ba? Tatta, style tinaganan kasi 1,1-ethane diol, 1, 2, 3 propane triol. Nagets nyo ba? Kuha nyo ba? Meron ba kayong konting idea na? O kahit konti, no? At least you have a small light, no, for you to be able to conquer the darkness. What do you think? Ada ba? Or if you need me to explain once again this one and go back, then I can do that one. Ada ba? Explain. Ibagayot ang paysuat, da kayumot na ting mga mutin no ag exam tayo. Ibagayot ang paysu. Sa adang matematika sa exam. Paglim kayo. Ada ba? Tag damag, sir, han ko nga maget ngay day kastoy kasjay. Mabalin ka ba nga palyo ulitin, mabalin kong arami din data. Ada ba?
Sir.
Yes. Sige, continue.
Sir, yung numbering na naman po, sir.
Numbering. Yeah.
Yung paano pag sa magkabilang dulo, sir, is yung branch tsaka yung OH. Saan po ba pagpare yung number yung branch tsaka yung OH?
Alright. If you get to see here your hydrogen, no? These are not branches. Nga branches lagi ito eh. Actually, dahito kat CH2 dahito ngay, no? Nalagip yung style ti pa nagsusurat ti kastoy. CH2. Do you see this one, CH2? Do you see that one? Can you see that one?
Yes, sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
Alright. Dahito CH2 is actually not a branch, di ba? But if you're going to look at it here, no? Dita, adati C, adati dua nga H. This is actually just CH2, which is not a branch. So, si style na gamit ti panagsurat ti kastoy kat ang palito nga kunayo kat baka branch dagito H, branch dagito H. Those H's are not branch. Those OH are the ones that are branches lang. Alright? Now, once again, no, if you get to see a branch, no, syempre, amo tayo di pinaka-longest chain. No, ay na ti pinaka-isidag nga branch nga ada ijay kagrugi. No? Doon ka sisimula. Parehas nito, no? If you're going to choose the numbering, saan mas malapit si branching? Is it from the left or from the right? What do you think? Ang branching niya. Nasa left ba ang mas malapit o nasa right ba ang mas malapit doon sa mga branches na OH and CH3?
Left, sir.
Left, sir.
Left. So pag left, makita nyo na dito kayo magsisimula ng 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kasi, pag nagsimula kayo dito sa dulo, which is, kung ito yung gagawin yung 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no? Babalik tayo dun sa rule, which is the lowest number. Magsisimula ako dito, number 2 nga carbon itong nakakonect tong dalawa. Pag nagsimula ako sa right, number 4 na carbon ito nakakonect tong dalawa. So, you choose between the 2 and 4, which is the lowest number. Sino mas mababa, 2 or 4?
2.
2. So, syempre, saan ka magsisimula? Doon sa number 2. So, magsisimula ka sa left. So, this will be
Sir.
your 1. Yes. Sige. Question.
For example po yan, pag yung OH is nasa 4th carbon po, saan po magsisimula?
Alright. Very good, no? Maganda yung tanong mo. In this case, kasi nga, alcohol ito, susundin natin kung saan si OH mas malapit. So, between the methyl and the OH, no? Since this is an alcohol, then therefore, we follow yung saan malapit si OH. Alright? Saan mas malapit si OH. So, for example, pag si OH nakakonect sa carbon number 4, so ang numbering mo, from the right to the left, hindi na left to the right. So, si OH nakakonect doon sa carbon number 2, si methyl nakakonect doon sa carbon number 4. Right? So, it's just a way for you to weigh, no? To weigh. Sino ba mas matimbang? Si OH or si CH3 o si methyl? Siyempre si OH. Right? Nag-gets ba yan? In terms of sino mas matimbang? Si methyl or si OH? Siyempre ka-alcohol ito, mas matimbang si OH. Gets ba yan?
Sir, yes, sir. Paano po pag ethyl yung nasa 2nd carbon?
Ethyl yung nasa 2nd carbon. Si OH pa rin yung manaig. Kasi we're talking about alcohol. Alright? Alcohol na kasi ito eh. Hindi naman to alkane na. Alright? So, mas mabigat pa rin si OH. Si ethyl man yan, si propyl man yan, si butyl man yan, o si pentanyl man yan, si OH pa rin mas matimbang. Alright?
Yes, sir.
Get ba? Alright. Sige, continue tayo, no? Some more example. Ito. Meron atang lumabas na ganitong example sa kanya, sa tawag nito. Alright? If you can still remember, na ilang sides meron itong shape na ito? Ilang sides meron?
6.
6. So, pag 6 yan, kung sa alkane yan, ano tawag natin dyan? 6 na carbon.
Hexane.
Hexane, very good. Pero kasi, nagkaka-connect sila na para silang circle, anong tawag natin sa hexane na connected, na naging ganito? So, remember, it starts with letter C. You have your, ano tawag natin, pag connected si hexane, pwede kasing si hexane na maging mahabang straight line lang. Diba? 6 na carbon. Pero, in this case, kasi, alam niyo yung mga dulo niyan ng mga matutulis diyan, may carbon diyan, carbon diyan, carbon diyan, carbon diyan, carbon diyan, carbon diyan, and carbon diyan. And therefore, we got to show that there are 6 sides, therefore we know that there are 6 carbons. And you mentioned, it's hexane. Tama 'yon. Pero kasi connected sila hindi sila nakalinya ngayon mahabang linya lang. So, ano tawag natin sa ganitong connected sila na carbon? Connected sila na hexane. Ano tawag natin dyan? It starts with letter C na ilalagay natin doon sa hexane. Before the name hexane, meron tayong idadagdag na pangalan. Malagip, di ba? No? We call that one your
Sir, later.
Letter C as in cat.
Cyclic.
Alright, cyclic. Or we call this one your cyclohexane. So, meron na tayong apelido, no? Ang pangalan nito, cyclohexane. Alright? Cyclohexane. Pero kasi, alcohol ito. So, ano yung pangalan natin sa alcohol na hexane? Yung hexane mo naging alcohol, ano tawag natin dun? Hexanol. Simple as hexanol. Kasi ito, no? Naka-circle ito. Kung saan man yung pamili ka ng kahit isang branch dyan, doon ka magsisimulang maging number 1. In this case, sabihin natin ito si carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4, carbon number 5, carbon number 6. Anong carbon numbers nakakonect sa OH? What numbers? Carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5, carbon 6. Saan sila nakakonect? Carbon?
1 and 4.
Alright, very good. 1, 4. So, mangyayari dyan, we have now your 1, 4, and we call that one your cyclohexane. So, 1, 4, cyclohexane, at ilang OH meron tayo?
2, sir.
2. So, inyong ilalagay mo doon before sa OH na yun. Anong pag alam nating dalawa, ano yung nilalagay natin?
Diol.
Very good. So, we have now, the name of this one would be 1, 4, cyclohexane diol, because you have your 2 OH there. Paano pag naging square ito? Magets mo? Meron kasi sa activity niyo yan, square Square naman siya. So, ilang sides is square? Ilang sides is square?
4.
4. So, pag 4, ano tawag natin yan sa alkane pag 4 yung carbon?
Butane.
You have your butane, no? So, butane yan, pag nakakonect siya, na parang naging square siya, just add your cyclo. So, what would be your name there? Cyclo? Butane, no? Cyclobutane, depende na lang kung saan nakakonect si OH doon, no? So, yun yung isang clue sa answer doon sa activity nyo doon. Alright? So, ano bang meron dyan sa activity nyo? Nung pangalan nun? Meron ata doon natawag na dyan. I think you have your page number, activity, dito. Saan na yun? Wala ata. Add to 7.1, page 43. Meron ba? Wala ata. Naming lang pala. Drawing pala, hindi siya naming. Alright? Padali lang to. Makuha nyo ito yung idea dito. Alright. Alcohol. Alright, so, balikan natin ito mamaya. But we proceed with your chapter 8. Ethers, epoxides, thiols, and sulfides. I will not specifically teach you this one in a very deep sense as compared to alcohol because this is actually making you more guguluhin kayo nito. So we'll be talking about just their uses and how they are actually be useful in terms of your profession. So ethers are actually just a connection of one functional group and another functional group there na magkaparehas. This is your R and this is your R prime. Parehas sila. Like your alcohol, parehas silang organic. Ethers. Have you ever heard of ethers before? Meron pa actually esters. Pero hindi na natin pag-usapan sa esters. Ethers lang siya dito. Alright. Makita nyo kasi, bakit naging ganito yung style ng tawag nila, ng idea ng structure niya. Kasi, kung ano yung nandito sa kabila, yun din yung nasa kabila. No? Kaya nga, minsan, tinatawag natin yung R. Kung ano man yung R dyan, kaparehas ng R na nasa kabila. So, in this case, you have here an ethyl. You have also an ethyl in the other side. Simply nakakonect siya sa oxygen. Then, once you have your diethyl ether. So, we're not going to name this one here. So, don't worry. No, it's just that I get to share to you that diethyl ether is used for anesthetics. Ano ang gamit ng anesthesia? Ano ba gamit ni anesthesia? O na kayo, no, na-try you ba di anesthesia? Boys, na-try nyo to. Unless na hindi kayo inanesthesiahan dati. Ano ba gamit ng anesthesia? Yes, continue. Wala. Baka konti man
Sir,
yung pampa. Sige, medyo napuputol-putol yung boses mo eh. Pampa.
Sir, pampamanhid para di maramdaman.
Tama yan, pampamanhid. Yan yung tamang term, manhid, no? So, minsan hindi lang tao yung manhid, no? Minsan pati puso mo na yung manhid na rin. Right, but anong gamit nito pampamanhid, no? It actually will paralyze your nerve cells to the point that you'll not be able to feel pain for certain temporary period. Hindi naman all pag sinaksakan ka ng anesthesia, buong buhay mo na hindi ka magiging manhid ka na. Alright? So, meron siguro sa inyo nakatry na nito, no? Na maka-feel ng anesthesia, but ito yung unang ginamit nilang anesthesia dati, no? It has a long history of medicinal use as an anesthetic and industrial use for solvents. Pero ito yung ginamit nila, pero this is not perfect, no, in terms of the using it as an anesthesia kasi ang dami ng side effect. Ano ang pwede niyang maging side effect? Mag-cause siya ng nausea, no? Nausea. Nakakahilo siya. Another thing would be it's flammable. So just imagine, no, pag merong nagsusmoke doon sa labas ng OR tapos gumamit kayo ng ganito, no, nakabukas yung tiyan mo doon kasi ino-opera ka, tapos biglang lumiyab yung tiyan mo kasi flammable yung ginamit nilang anesthesia. So, no, as an alternative for your diethyl ether, they use what you call another one, which is your methyl propyl ether, which is an alternative for this one kasi mas lesser yung side effect niya at saka yung consequences niya sa paggamit nito. Maybe because this is less flammable or maybe because it has less effect to your panghihilo, no? Nakakahilo, hindi siya masyadong nakakahilo. Amoy pa lang nakakahilo na. Alright? So you have your diethyl ether. However, methyl propyl ether was the one being used as an alternative. Alright? So ganito yung itsura nila, no? Nakapan sila. Makita nyo, meron yung use. Ano kayang gamit ng black na bottle? Bakit yung ibang mga gamot, black yung bottle nila? What do you think? O tinuro ba yan sa chemistry nyo dati? Bakit yung ibang mga bottles ng solution, bakit yung ibang mga gamot, bakit black yung bottle nila? What do you think? Why do you think? Bakit black? Anybody who would like to guess? Malapit yung time natin. We still have 12 more minutes left. Pero matatapos din ito by the next 10 minutes. What do you think? Bakit kaya black yung mga gamit nila? Di ba kayo nag-wonder? Apay dahil kathanmat nga clear na agpada ti kastoy. Black ti ba? Ako ngay? Nangisip ti butilya da. What do you think? So So, bakit yung olive oil? Dapat black yung bottle niya. Yung olive oil, hindi nyo daw ilagay sa clear na bottle. Bakit kaya? Anybody? Walang gusto mag-guess. Palapit na time. And yes, parehas tayong nagugutom na rin. Right? But the point is that, no, kailangan lang black yung bottle nila because they should be protected from the sun. Hindi siya pwedeng mainitan yung content ng loob ng bottle na yun. Kasi at some point, let's say for example, your olive oil, dapat black yung bottle niya, green yung bottle niya. Kasi they will disintegrate when they are exposed to the sunlight. So para siyang shades, no? Para siyang antipara, para siyang yung mga shades nyo. Para hindi siya mainitan ng ganun na para protected yung mga content ng mga nasa bottle na yan. Alright, we'll continue. You have your what you call your methoxybenzene, no? This is another example of your ether. Ito yung mga ginagamit sa mga mababangong part ng ng mga plants, no? Ito yung mga nagpapabango sa kanila in terms of your fragrances. Sweet smelling itong methoxybenzene, no? Just to give you a name. To be the yung talagang ayupak name niya is methyl phenyl ether. Pero for the common name, we call that one yung methoxybenzene. You have your PEG here. This is used for your moisturizer or for your toothpaste. Ilalagay to doon. PEG ang smaller name nito. Alright? You have your epoxides here. Let's not talk about this one anymore siguro. Hindi naman masyadong importante ito. You have your dioxane or your tetrahydrofuran. This is actually just an acid. Okay. You have your crown ethers kasi nagmumukha yung crown yung kanya. Nagiging magmukhang crown yung structure niya if you're going to look at it, no? Kung i-count mo ilang sharp edges yan yung number of carbons. And if you're going to look at there, no, ilang carbons yan? 15 carbons yan. And 5 oxygen. At nagmumukha silang crown. Ito naman, merong 18 carbon dyan at saka 6 na oxygen, kaya 18 crown 6. Ito yung mga name nila ng mga ethers. We're not going to name this one anymore. Alright? You have your thiols and sulfites, hindi ko na diretso ito, pero punta lang tayo dito sa assignments nyo, no? Ito yung a-answeran nyo, ladies and gentlemen. Huwag nyo nang answeran yung 8.1 because it's a naming for the thiols, for the sulfites. Huwag nyo nang answeran yun. Ang a-answeran nyo lang, 7.1, naming the alcohol. As I've mentioned kanina, yung 7.2 is just an essay and a true or false of how does alcohol affect male and female, and it has subsequent questions there. And in your 8.2, no, sinabi dyan, ano yung gamit ng 8.2? Make a research paper on the anesthetic action of ether and its reaction in the body. I have mentioned already your ether kanina, like say for example yung diethyl ether, no? Nung sinasabi ko kanina na may effect siya na hindi maganda sa body is because it can cause nausea or nakakahilo siya. So, you need to at least research more about other effects of your ether in our body and how does our body react to it. No? Does it react good? Does it have side effects? Does it have a negative reaction? Does it have a positive reaction? Just get to research that one. Nandito pala yung question niya. Alright, so make a research paper. Number 2, identify 3 ethers that are being used by humans. Explain its significance and hazard. And lastly, suggest a possible reason why ethers are major components of effective cleaning materials compared to alcohol. Bakit mas mabisa si ether compared to alcohol? Alright? So, for this week, ang ipapasa nyo lang, kasi it's Friday right now, is it okay? Deadline niya Wednesday, before tayo mag-start na naman ng chapter 9 and 10. Okay lang ba yun? Yung deadline ng itong 7.1, 7.2, 8.2. Okay lang ba? Would it be
Yes, sir.
Wednesday, next week? Kahit Wednesday ng midnight, okay lang ba? Dahil ito'y talo, ipalpasan nyo. Okay lang ata? May I hear?
Okay lang, sir.
Wednesday.
Sir.
So Wednesday, nya? Wednesday. So agsapa, the same time agsapa discuss tayo sa chapter 9 and 10. Siguro deadline ko man hindi nga na Saturday. Ngam daytoy taga po nga Friday tayo nga nag-discuss. Wednesday next week, no? Sapay ko makahabol ti daduma. Yes, I still accept late activities, no? Hanyo nga idamagan na sir, mabalin pa nga pasa, basta ka ipasa yo lang. Makita matkit di no, if ever ipasa yo ijay messenger, di ba? Ada ti date na. So amok no, nagpasa kayo late, nagpasa kayo ti on time. Siyempre, sa balimat jay nagpasa ti on time nya. Sa balimat jay adala ti basit nga siguro nga different in terms of points lagi jay nagpasa on time as compared to those who pass late jay. So, nagpasa kayo nakita ko ay na late ipasa yo latta, no? Ipasa yo latta, no? Makita mat naman nga aldaw nga na late dahil kaipasa yo latta ta isupay nga agnayon ti activities niya. But if you kaya yo nga ipasa on time, it's better because han kayo nga matabunan man ti sabali nga activities, no? Ada man ti kaumay. Alright, so questions before we get to say good evening to each one of us and have our dinner. Questions?
Sir, mo ba yung exam damdama?
Nagrugi kan ba si exam ta naka-open lang mat yung exam? Han ko mat nga ino-off di ay.
Sir, saan pa sir?
Ay naka-open lang di ay.
Anak pa lang.
Han ko pa info-post di ay. Siguro i-post ko di ay.
Sir.
Ingga na Domingo nya, i-post ko ingga na Domingo. I-stop ko di ay. So,
Okay po, sir.
nga naka-exam, ingga na Domingo, nabulilyaso mat dito yung exam tayo nga dapat sabay-sabay kayo amin. Siyempre, may mat ni maring nga di ay nga i-brown out ka na napurnada amin. So, ingga na Sunday. Nya Sunday, ang sapa i-post ko di ay. Yes, questions? Questions? Dapat i-questions pa ba? Awanan. So, no awanan ti questions, but pag inanata yun, it's already evening and we get to enjoy our dinner. So, once again, thank you very much for joining this class and we get to see each other once again by Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the morning for chapters 9 and 10. Tapos, chapters 11 and 12, ang finals na yun, malpasan si batch 2. Alright? So, kasta kapaspas lang si panahon. So, anusun tayo, hingga naman next time, salamat, iti panag join nyo. Tata. Thank you and have a happy dinner. Alright? Good evening.